Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and welcome to episode 68 of Direwolf20's FTB Revelations Let's Play series, where last episode I played around with RF Tools Dimensions, which I added to the pack, by the way, because it wasn't already in there. I made a dimension, worked out pretty good. I made another dimension. I called it Exploration 2, and the way I did that effectively was just adding a digit card to a blank dimensional thing, and that one worked out a little bit better for me in terms of the terrain, mostly because it's basically a flat world of smoothstone. Interestingly, though, some of the things here turned out to be some Twilight Forest stuff, which was kind of interesting. So I did a little bit of flying around between episodes. Basically, this is what I did between episodes, looking for some good stuff, right? And found a bunch of dimensional things. Boop, 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 boop. So today what I'd like to do is work on making a draconic dimension. So we want a dimension that's going to support our need for copious amounts of draconium. And luckily that shouldn't be too hard to work out. So if we take a look at our draconium here, Ender draconium ore should be doable. Hopefully. We'll see. I think this will work, right? Because if we look over here, we can see that we can get Ender draconium ore as a type of material. So here's how we make custom dimensions, right? Basically, we need, what I'm going to do is take this realized dimension tab out of here, okay? And we're going to make another realized dimension tab. Or not realized, just a regular dimension tab. It's not realized until it turns into a thing. Turns into an actual dimension. Cool. So in here, we're gonna place the dimension tab. I'll name it in a minute. But what we want to do is create a feature in the dimension with draconium ore in it, right? So in order to do that, we need to put custom attributes on this dimension. It's pretty straightforward to do. So if we look at RF Tools Dimensions, we'll see one of the things we can get is a material absorber, and this is what we're going to need in order to get this thing going. So first off, I'm just going to make one of these, okay? And what the material absorber does is a lot of dimensional modification things are pretty similar to each other. For example, biomes. All biomes work exactly the same, except you have to know what biome you want. So if we look at bamboo forest, for example, you'll see on the tooltip here the 6 items that are necessary to create it. And it's one of these blank doohickeys, a dimlet base part, right? Everything needs a dimlet base part. And then there's 6 tiers of rarity, right? And the higher the rarity kind of just contributes to how rare the item or the thing that you're trying to do. I think most dimensions are rarity 1, so they're not hard. And then there's energy modules, right? And there's 3 tiers of that, which basically correspond to the 6 tiers or the 7 tiers of rarity, right? So like basic energy modules are rarity 0 and 1, regular for 2 and 3, and then the rest are high energy, right? And then the same for memory units. Same exact deal, right? So 0, 1, 2, 3, and then, 4 through 6 for the advanced memory unit. And so that's the first 4 components, right? The 5th component tells you what type of dimlet you're making. So that will be something along the lines of biome controller for biomes, or liquid type controller, or material controller, or mob type controller, or sky controller, right? These basically tell you what aspect of the dimension you're modifying. So if you want to change things about the sky, then you would use a sky controller, right? And if we looked in here for a sky dimlet, we'll see that we use the sky controller, right? And some of these aren't craftable, and that's okay. Some of them are, some of them not so much, right? So that's your sky controller. Or like, if we wanted to have, let's see, weather type controller, right? So we could do thunder, rain, or something like that. Pretty spiffy. What we want to do, though, is a material type. And specifically the material we want is Ender draconium ore. And you'll notice that requires a level 4 rarity. And because it's level 4 rarity, we need the advanced version of energy and the advanced version of memory. And we can see that on the tooltip. We also need a material type controller. And then finally, we need that little block that we've got in our inventory, the material absorber. And it needs to absorb draconium, right? So to get it to absorb draconium is really pretty straightforward, right? What I'm going to do is grab my building gadget, because that's a good time. Okay, and I'm going to put you on horizontal wall mode, I think. Should be a good time. Boop, 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 boop. Actually, you don't seem like you've got draconium here. Draconium was always a little bit funny with how it registered things. So maybe it's all right. We'll just have to do this one by hand. Right? I'm just going to place a bunch of draconium in the world. And the way that this material absorber thingy works is pretty cool. You basically just place it on the blocks you want to absorb, and it'll start eating them and building up the resource type, right? So if I throw this material absorber right on top of our ender draconium, see how he starts eating them? And see the percentage going up? How cool is that? 46%. Nice. It's like making music. And then once we hit 100%, we should be cool. Nice. And you'll see he won't be able to absorb any more. Cool. And that's how you know you've got what you need. Cool. Absorbed 100%, we're good to go. So I'm going to put the ender draconium away, the excess. And now we've got the main component to making ender draconium ore. So now in order to make this dimlet that we need, what we need is the rest of the stuff from RF Tools dimensions. Right? So we're going to need the rarity level 4. We're going to need the dimlet base part. Okay, one of those. We're going to need a tier 3 of this. We're going to need a tier 3 of that. Right? And then we need a material. I think I just saw one. Dimlet material. Nice. Cool. So I happen to have all those from just doing explorations, right? Now, if you had done explorations and hadn't found these, don't forget that you can also take existing things here in the world and break them down, right? So there's a lot of materials that we found, right? I'm assuming I haven't found any draconium stuff, right? Yeah, no, I didn't think so. But like if you needed a, you know, a rarity, like here's a rarity 3, pink stained glass. And obviously the rarity determines how frequently you'll find it. So I don't think we found too much by way of rarity 4 stuff, but you know, it is what it is. A few rarity 3s, a few rarity 4s. You just have to keep looking until you find what you're looking for. Okay, not too shabby. So let's put this together, right? So if I put ender draconium ore in here, I just double click it and you'll see that it pulls all the items out of my inventory for me. And then I can just zoink, grab this. Now you'll notice that the create cost, the maintain cost, and the tick cost, this is how much RF it costs to create and maintain this dimension. So next thing I want to do is probably modify the feature. So the material dimlet is a modifier, and you can modify certain things. You can modify like the terrain gen to be draconium ore. I usually go with features for draconium ore. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify tendrils. Sounds cool. Tendrils is always a cool one. I like tendrils. Let's do tendrils. Does that sound good? Like, we also have huge orbs. We have shallow ocean. That's not going to work, right? Scattered orbs, liquid orbs, none. Clean. That all looks cool. Well, let's go with tendrils. I like that. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. Feature tendrils. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop... I always forget what order this is. If I do that, are you happy? Warn, there are dangling modifiers. I think I have to put it before. Yeah, so we do ender draconium ore, tendrils. So it's like adjective and noun, right? So like the adjective goes first. It's like, you know, I don't know, red circle, right? So like red circle, ender draconium ore, tendrils. So it you know, takes the ender draconium ore, modifies the feature dimlet tendrils, and what we should get is a dimension full of draconium ore in a tendril pattern. And tendrils, well, if you don't know what they are, you'll find them out. So let's just call this draconium 1, right? We're going to store that in the realize dimension tab. We're going to pop this in here, and you'll notice that it takes a lot longer and a lot more RF to generate this dimension, right? The other thing I want to do is make an activity probe, which is a nice thing to have, right? Activity probes are cool. What they do is normally the dimensions consume power at all times, right? The activity probe will stop the dimension from consuming power when there's no players in it, right? So we'll notice here, like, we're draining power like, well, actually almost like nobody's business, but not that bad. I guess all our reactors are running, so that's good. And I think all my quarries and everything else are turned off at the moment, so I think my wither skeletons are still running, aren't they? Oh, wow, we have 54 wither skeleton skulls. That's awesome. All right, so we've just finished crafting the dimension, and now we're filling up the internal buffer of power in that dimension. So you'll notice we're using almost 2,000 RF a tick just to maintain this dimension. And if we were to remove the dimension tab from the inventory here, you see the current power dropping, even though there's nobody in there, right? That's just default mechanics. But if we dial up home base to draconium and dial it, and we bring our activity probe in there, what will happen is placing this in the dimension means don't, waste power when nobody is there. And that's probably going to be good for a dimension as expensive as this one. So, hey, look, draconium ore tendrils. And actually, it's funny. It looks like a big ocean biome. So I don't know if I just happened to spawn in an ocean biome or what the deal is there. But, boop. Give you a little bit of power so that you remain powered up, draconium, right? And I'm going to stick this guy right in there, okay? Now when we go home, we'll find that when we remove the dimlet thingy from here, he's not... Well, he is draining power. He shouldn't be draining power, because activity probe. Maybe I need to chunk load that spot where the activity probe is? Oh. Not going to worry about it. Maybe I have to chunk load it? I don't know. Claim chunks, this. When in doubt, chunk load. Sometimes it takes a minute or so for it to realize as well that, hey, there's no player in there anymore. Right? So we'll give it a moment or two for it to realize maybe there's no player. Well, it's still eating power even though there's nobody there, so I'm not going to lose too much sleep over it, but we'll just keep in mind that maybe we put that thing in a chest or something. I don't know, we'll figure it out. Long story short, look at all this draconium ore. Loving it. Loving it. So now we should have probably no problems with draconium ore. Yeah, I think we're gonna be just fine. RF Tools Dimensions is a good time. I mean, aside from being like a little bit OP, and I mean just a little bit, right? Just a smidgen of overpoweredness. Right? Just a smidgen? Yeah, I guess there are monsters in this world, so we should watch out for that. My goodness, that's a lot of RF. That's a lot of draconium. Let me tell you. Let me tell you the story of how much draconium we have. And I mean, like, you can do this with anything. Just about, RF costs and all that. So I just pop out of the world, and that's how you get lots and lots and lots of draconium using RF Tools Dimensions. Not too shabby. Cool. So now just to prevent this thing from realistically draining power, right? So there's your draconium ID. I'm going to disable this, right? So like interrupt the power beam so that he stops and I won't teleport there by mistake. And now if I ever want to go back there, I just need to put this guy back in the charger dude and we should be cool. Okay? So that's a good time. And now draconium should be clearly smelting up a storm, as you can see right here. Beautiful. Look at all that draconium. Just look at it. All right. So now that we've got that thing ready, what I'd like to start looking at is jumping back into our plan, which was to make an RF tool, or the draconic energy thingy, right? So what we want is an energy storage core. And we're probably going to go tier 7, like I said. So we need 210 draconium blocks and 328 redstone blocks. In addition, we need 36 energy core stabilizers and 1 energy core. Okay, so let's look at that. So energy core, we need 36 of these. So I need you to know how to make these because 36 is a lot, right? So I want you to know that. I want you to know this. And we want the energy core, which is this guy. And I also need 2 energy pylons. I know that much. That's good times. We're also going to need a few pieces of glass, which luckily I have. And that should be easy peasy. Now, where to put it is really, that's the question that I have, right? That's really the big question. Really just the main question on everyone's mind is, where are we going to put that? So we need 36 of these. Get to work. No, none of those. We need 1 energy core, and we need 2 energy pylons. Right? So that should all be crafting up a storm and doing a good job. And then for draconium blocks, it said we needed 210 of those, right? Now I'm suspecting that I will have enough. Hey, we do actually. Sweet. Craft it up. So we're actually ready to make this thing, which is a little surprising. But I'm down with that. And then 328 redstone blocks, is that correct? 328 redstone blocks, right? So 328 divided by 64 is 5 1/8. So 5 stacks of redstone, and then 1/8 of 64 is 8, right? Yeah. Yeah. So that's the 328 that we need. Cool. That's cool. Yep, that's definitely right. So with that said, then we need our 210 draconium blocks, and we're ready to rock. We are ready to build this energy core. So let's go. Where do I want it? Do I want it just like floating above my base? That's usually roughly where I put it. Now here's the thing, because we have flux networks, we really don't care where it goes, right? Like pretty much all my power is already established that everything is coming in and going out of flux networks, right? The generators network is all my power generators are feeding power into the thing, the energy storage, and then all my Direwolf 20's network is feeding energy out of the storage, right? So ultimately what we want to do is basically just move these guys onto the energy core once the time comes, and then we're good, right? And I might want to hook this thing up in a similar manner to the way that it's set up down there. But we're also going to store a lot of energy in this thing. So, like, would it be cool to have the energy orb right above my Thaumcraft area? Now, it's not a Thaumcraft construct, obviously. But I think it would be cool just to have this giant orb. I mean, the amount of energy it stores is magical, to be fair. It would be cool to have this like giant orb just floating up above this construct, right? Like, it's not above my base, and it doesn't matter where it lives because, you know, it doesn't matter where it lives. Like, that's just the end of the story, right? It really doesn't matter. So let's building gadget our way up here. Yeah, I'm just spitballing. This is about where I would like to have things. How about? Can you give me some... No, you're supposed to be dirt, bro. Come on, I shift right clicked on dirt. And build to me. Like flying up high in the sky. Right? Maybe a little bit higher. That seems like a good spot, right? And now what we can do, luckily we can visualize this, right? So build guide, inactive, active, right? So if we look at this, this is what it would look like without anything, right? Now what we want to have is a tier 7 energy core, right? And that's the size of the thing, right? So does that look a little bit high to you guys? I think it does. That seems fair. Oh, yeah, you're still in that mode. Let's just move it down a little bit. Okay. Does that seem cool? I like that positioning, right? That looks nice. It's nice and centered right over my Thaumcrafty area. And it looks cool up there. Yeah, I'm down with that. All right, so now the other cool part about this is we can just click on here and hit the Assemble Core button, and it's going to build it for me. How cool is that? You ready? Ow. Nice. And it just steals all the redstone and everything out of my inventory. And everybody's happy. That was like a late addition to Draconic Evolution and is like the best addition ever. Because building the cores by hand, especially as they get like bigger, like 7 or 8, a little bit rough. How about 4 blocks away? We'll have our stabilizers. Okay. Yeah, try building a tier 8 by hand. It's a good time. Hey, nice. The core is invalid. The stabilizers are invalid. That's what right-clicking on this dude will tell you. Right? Right-clicking him tells you stabilizers invalid, core valid, so we're cool. Right? Okay. Draconic Orb, here we come. Now, if you have like a tier, I think it's up to tier 4, like 1 through 4, you only need 1 stabilizer. But higher tiers than that require a 3x3 of stabilizers on each side. Like 1 stabilizer on each side, so a total of 4, right? There you go. And then, last one. Beautiful. So, you ready to turn this thing on? Yeah. Activate. Whoosh. Now we're cooking. Nice. That is cool. And you can see current capacity, lots of RF, 2.14 trillion. The current charge, the current transfer. I'm going to deactivate it for a minute, though, because what I want to do is now set up the energy pylons, right? I'm going to do 4 down and have an energy pylon. And then we're going to do 4 up. Okay. So I'm going to activate you. Boom. And then I think I want to put the glass. There you go. Sweet. Closer to the orb. Okay. And then I right-click this dude. There we go. All right. So this is... What I'm going to do is make this top part energy in. And we're going to make the bottom part energy out. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is pop down here and steal my generator's network flex point. Right? So he's now losing all the powers, and my flux generators are probably building up a nice internal buffer. This is going to go up top and start charging my Draconic Orb. Right there. Now if we look at the orb inside this thing, we'll see that we're getting 57,000 RF a tick, right? So we've already stored 25 million RF. Pretty good. Pretty good. And it's going to get a little bit more shenaniganry in the future, right? So that's going to be good times, right? And you've got disable transfer limit, so you're going to transfer as much as you want, and that looks pretty cool to me. Nice. Wow. We were up to 50 million RF already? That is shenanigans. Let me tell you how much that's shenanigans. That is cool. That is cool. All right, so what I'm going to do now is move this thing, the plug for our main network. Right, so right now none of my machines are getting power, which is a bad time, but don't worry, it won't last long. There you are. Sweet. And your input's now feeding it. Good. So now we have a net gain of 15,000 RF a tick. So we have a net gain going on, obviously, which is good. Now the other thing I'm going to do is see if I can move this guy, right? So this dude, I'm assuming that I'll be able to read the value inside the Draconic Orb, but maybe I can't. Let's find out. Okay, so if I were to, for example, connect you to here and you to here, can you measure that amount? Oh yeah, machine buffers, 2.147 trillion. Neat. So theoretically, I should be able to, like if we looked at this right now, we should not be getting a net gain of power, right? We have negative 24K. That's because we don't have a redstone signal telling this thing, yeah, go ahead and run my generators, right? So my 2 big power generators from Nuclearcraft are not running. Still not running? That's a bummer. What's up, redstone? Actually, are you only on the back? Is that how you work? I forget. Yeah, you don't seem to want to run. You may not be able to... Yeah, he may not want to, right? Machine buffers. So you've got machine buffers going here. When storage, it recognizes it as a machine. It may not recognize it as storage. See, the capacitor bank is at 0. So if I wanted to do this, what I would theoretically do would be to put it such that all the energy coming in flows through a capacitor bank and then goes into the Draconic Orb, so that the capacitor bank is constantly empty until the Draconic Orb fills up, and then the capacitor bank will fill up. But instead, what I'm going to do is just let this thing run all the time. I think that's a smart move, right? Because it's going to take basically forever to fill up 2.17 trillion, right? So I'm going to pop this dude up on the wall. Hey. Okay. And now, if we go check, what we will find is this buddy up here should be singing. Beautiful. Beautiful. And that'll just have a net gain of power going for a long time. Wow, we drained a lot of our internal buffer. I mean, to be fair, we are draining a lot of power with that Wither Skeleton farm, which I think it's about time I go turn off. Right, we don't really need the Wither Skeleton farm anymore, I don't think, right? I mean, at some point we might, right? But for now, I think we can turn it off. With over 2,000 Wither Skeleton skulls, I think we're cool for a little bit. So let's turn this bad boy off. And that'll save me a little bit of juice. Okay. All right, guys, so I think that's a pretty good wrapping up point for the episode here. So let's wrap up here. We'll come back next time, and then we'll start looking at maybe getting into some cool stuff for dragon killing, because I got an idea or two there that I want to play with, and we're going to have to figure it out. For now, though, it's my signing off. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Take it easy.